But the Nintendo Switch is one of my fucking favorite things of all time. It's my favorite console of all time. It's been able to overtake my previous like favorite consoles. Like, I don't know. I'll just give a top 5 real quick. This is not in any particular order, but it's like the SNES, the Nintendo DS, the PlayStation 2, Game Boy, and the Nintendo Switch. Mostly Nintendo, as you can tell, with PS2 being one of the fucking GOAT consoles in there as well. But anyway.
Yeah, I think PS2 is still currently like the number one selling console of all time, which is just so fucking crazy. It's been so long.
It's amazing. But the Switch is it is the perfect console. It being a home console and a portable device is fucking amazing. And the fact that seamlessly I can be playing on the go, playing my thing, and then put it to sleep. The boot times on it are incredible. And then if I get home, I put my Switch in the dock, boom, I'm playing it on my TV, good to go. And then also, this is something we were talking about, me and Fraser mentioned multiple times. I don't know if we did on the podcast, but when we were playing Monster Hunter together, maybe even Bravely Default, I think at one point Fraser's electricity went out. And he got scared for a second because he was like, I didn't save. And then he was like, oh, wait, the Switch is godlike. It doesn't matter. Because the electricity went out. The Switch is a portable console. It just thinks it got undocked and went to undocked mode, portable mode. And, like, it didn't matter.
Yeah, like, literally, not, like, all the lights went out. Everything just blew out in my house. It was a blackout. And I was really afraid because if that would have happened on any other console, I would have lost, however long it's been since an autosave, which probably isn't that much considering how games autosave now, but I tend to turn autosave off sometimes. But it's just like the convenience of just that, right? Like that, just a blackout happening and you being able to still play something, or just getting on an airplane, which I like to travel. Pre-pandemic, I traveled very often, and I'm starting to get back into that bag. So having a Switch is really convenient for just like playing games on a go, playing Monster Hunter Rise, and it also just has every Final Fantasy and all the Kingdom Hearts now. That is also absurd. Apparently, Chrono Cross is being remastered and
Chrono
brought
Cross
to
is
it.
being remastered for it. There's also a game that never came out in America that was always interesting called Live Alive, and they're doing like an Octopath Traveler remaster on it, and it looks incredible. I can't wait to give that a go because I never played it.
I think the Switch is technically, from a technical standpoint, the best console ever made, because of the fact that it is a handheld and a console, and it's really both.
And it does it
it's
well.
not like a bullshit gimmick. It's actually so. For example, there's a Monster Hunter game, Generations Ultimate, that came out on the 3DS, and they did a port of it to the Nintendo Switch. Well, when you're playing it handheld, I think it's at like 720p. It still looks really good. It looks better than it looked on the 3DS. And it's at 720p. But when you dock it, it upscales it. And it makes it 1080p. It makes it look way better on your TV than it does when you're playing a handheld. Mm-hmm. And the fact that this happens in an instant. The concept of that should be the future of gaming, period. For so much so that I think that Nintendo cannot go back to just producing consoles or handhelds as separate things.
I would be so angry.
It needs to always just be the Switch. And I brought this up. So again, we re-recorded this episode, so I'm going to say this from the original recording as well. When the iPhone came out, it was the premier smartphone. It is, it's not to say that it was the first smartphone, but it was the smartphone. And if we're being honest, Apple is a $3 trillion company right now. It is the number one company in the world, and it has been for so fucking long, and it's because of the iPhone. The iPhone is still, to this day, you can like Android, and I don't have anything against Android or anything like that. I'm not one of those people. But the iPhone is still the smartphone, okay? Like, when you think of smartphone, when the world thinks of smartphone, they think of the iPhone. And it has not changed, and this is my point. Once the iPhone was established in 2006, 2007, it has remained a constant, just the way it is, since then. They have not done some weird thing where it goes back to being a flip phone, or it goes back to being a sidekick. That's been dead since the iPhone came out. The iPhone killed all of that. And my point is, I think Nintendo has stumbled upon their version of the iPhone for gaming. The idea of a handheld and a console should just be the future forever. If no one else is going to do it, I don't know if Nintendo has it patented where no one else can do it, but Nintendo should never go back to just producing only console and then only handheld as two separate things. They should always be linked together like that. I think it is the best idea in gaming ever. The fact that I can pick this device up, walk out of my house, and still be playing Monster Hunter with my friends, and nothing changes. It's wild. It is fucking wild.
They can't go back. And if they go back, I think it's going to hurt. It'll hurt their company a lot.
Yes.
Like they can't go back. They have to push it forward. And it's not like anybody else could do it. Like if Sony wanted to do it, they could do a portable and home console thing. But I don't think Sony and Microsoft will do that. Maybe they try.
I can see Microsoft doing it before Sony. Microsoft, because of Microsoft already technically has portables and the idea of having Windows laptops and things like that.
Yeah.
And they have all the Surface tablets and stuff. So they technically have a idea of how handheld things work. Whereas I don't think Sony has that exact same. Like, yeah, the PSP was a thing, and it's funny. Number 8 for me. So number 8 for Kenny was the Nintendo Switch. Number 8 for me is the PSP. The PSP was phenomenal, but we all know how it ended. The Vita was a disaster. It was a disaster, and Sony never went back. After the Vita, that was it for them. They were like, okay, this was a failure. You can imagine they probably lost $100 million, if not more, because think about all the R&D that goes into a system, all of the contracts and exclusive content, all the things that goes into just like this. The Vita was a fully new system. It wasn't just like the PSP got upgraded. It was its own system. It had things that you could not play on anything else.
It's crazy how hard that botched, because for all intents and purposes, the Vita is like more capable than the 3DS, but like it just botched. Like it didn't.
Yeah,
it just wasn't successful.
Yeah, they failed somewhere, and they kind of never went back to the handheld thing. So they put all their eggs in the basket of what they were good at, which is making console games that were really powerful. That's always been Sony's thing. Like the PlayStation has always been a powerful console. And Nintendo doesn't really care about being 4K resolution and Blu-ray player. All of those things are cool for people who want that. But like I always say, I am a graphics whore, but I don't need it for my experience to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Nintendo has been doing a phenomenal job with their exclusives. They have the best exclusive market in the world, and the Switch is a testament to that. Everything before that too. And then the PSP is great because, and the reason why it's on my list is because back when I was younger, I used to have a CD player. And, CD players used to be pretty shit. Like, one, if you wanted to hear something, you had to switch the CD out. And then if it got hit, it would fucking literally make your song skip.
Dude, God forbid trying to jog with a CD player.
Yes,
which we tried. Jogging with a CD player?
They used to have CD players that said they were shock resistant, which was always a lie.
Absolute nonsense.
Absolute nonsense. So then when the PSP came out, and, at this point, the iPod Touch was already out. But when the PSP came out, it was able to fully play media. It had a really, really good resolution display. Like the display.
Was the iPod Touch out already? I know like iPod Video and like iPod Nano, but was Touch out at that time?
So I won't say that it was out at the beginning of the PSP, but during the PSP's reign, the iPod Touch was also a thing. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Okay,
I'm not saying that like when the PSP first came out, the iPod Touch was out. I don't think that's true. But
I gotcha.
So when I had a PSP, the coolest thing to me, and if you can relate, send something into IMNerdpodcast@gmail.com. But I used to have episodes of anime, so I would have the Rock Lee versus Gaara fight. I would have the AMVs. I would have Naruto versus Sasuke at the Final Valley. I would have Ichigo versus Byakuya the first time he ever used Bankai. I would have Goku going Super Saiyan for the first time and AMV surrounding that. I would have Kenshin versus Shishio and AMV surrounding that. I would have full anime seasons. Like and the entire Death Note was on my PSP. I'd also just have music, and my PSP had homebrew installed on it, so it was jailbroken or whatever you want to call it. And I had all of the PlayStation, like PSX emulator was on there. So I had Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9. I also had like Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, and just a ton of shit. Like my PSP was loaded, and as long as you had a memory stick that could harness, all of its power and hold everything that you wanted to put on it, or if you were like me, I just had multiple. I would have a memory stick that was just for RPGs, another memory stick that was for media, and I would just switch them out. And as inconvenient as that is to think about in 2022, back then that was nothing, because a CD player, you couldn't do any of what I'm talking about. But the PSP was amazing.
The amount of music I had on my PSP for many years, my PSP was my main My PSP.
You'd have it in your pocket. I remember you would have your PSP in your pocket and have your fucking headphones coming out.
All the time. Like, for I use my PSP like how we all use our phones today. And I still had a smartphone, but I just didn't put everything on my phone, and because I just was already so used to using my PSP, so I had, just like Fraser, I had various episodes of anime on it, music, all kinds of games.
Hey guys, if you like this clip, we have full video versions of our podcast episodes available on the I Am Nerd Patreon, as well as exclusive content.
If you'd like to listen to our full podcast episodes or find us on any other social media platforms, you can do so by clicking the link tree below.